So why is it that some people are happier in their retirement than they were ever in their younger years? I'm new to retirement. I've retired early. And as such, I've been sort of searching for the answers of how to build a happy and constructive and solid retirement. And I've explored many of those themes on this channel. I'm a newbie at this. I'm the new kid at retirement school, wet behind the ears, but thinks he knows it all. While the bigger senior kids of retirement school are going, "You'll learn, sonny boy, you'll learn." I came across this interesting article that looks to explore why people are happier in retirement than they were in their younger years. So let's take a look and see what my thoughts are, albeit me being in the early stages of retirement. So let's check it out. This is on a website here called Global English Editing or something like that, geeediting.com. And I found a number of articles on this site that sort of spurred me on to think about retirement and early retirement and to make some of the videos on this channel. If you're interested in all things sort of life post 50, early retirement, etc., then this is the channel for you. Hit that subscribe button, toggle that notification bell, and that way you'll know when I go live with videos just like this. Anyway, so here we are, 8 reasons some people are happier in retirement than they ever were in their younger years. He looks a jolly old fellow, doesn't he? Run in there. He looks fitter than I do. When we're young, we tend to picture retirement as a far-off dream, beaches, golf, long lunches, maybe some gardening. But when it finally arrives, the reality could be something more profound. I've been talking about this on this channel for some time, that retirement is much more than just the finance, getting the finances in place. You've got to think about other things. You've got to plan what your life's going to look like when you retire. And yeah, look, sure, some people have plans like, well, we're going to go off and build a project house in France or whatever, or we're going to go and travel in a camper van around Europe or go to Asia, or I'm going to sell up everything and go and live in Thailand, whatever it is. Big, bold plans. But there's sort of more to it, because that always sounds great and they're grand plans. But when you're actually living that life, there are other things I think you need to plan. And as I said, I've explored a lot on this channel. As it says here, retirement brings disorientation, the loss of structure, routine, professional identity. I bang on about that on this channel, about this question of people going, hello, and what do you do? Because that's how people identify you. And when you retire, it just seems a bit weird to say the word retired. Anyway, if you want to go into all of that, then definitely check out my videos. But here we go. Let's just start with number 1. Let's get to it. Stop waffling. Grab a coffee, grab a tea, grab a drink of your choice, and we'll get into it. My afternoon coffee. Number 1, they've stopped living for others' approval. In their working years, many people spend decades trying to impress bosses, clients, colleagues, even family members. Success becomes about external validation, job titles, salaries, achievements, recognition. Okay, absolutely. And you can express that in so many ways. Oh, look at my house, look at my car. Often if you're in a salesy type job and you move up the ranks, traditionally you'd get like a bigger sales car, a bigger car because you're now a senior salesperson. I remember years ago when I got a job, I moved from public service to a commercial company, and I sat next to the person who did HR, and she was negotiating the salary of a new person that was coming in that was a salesperson. I'd come in as a sort of a business lawyer / business development type person, but I'd come from the public service where you got nothing. You got no bonuses, you get no extras, you get no expense account, any of that. And then I came to this job, suddenly I had bonuses, expense accounts, all of that, my own sort of company credit card. It was amazing. But I overheard the conversation HR was having with this new sales rep that was joining the company. The conversation on the phone was about what color his BMW was going to be. And I was thinking, wait a minute, I go to see clients all the time and I don't have a company car, because I never thought about asking for one because I came from the public service where you don't get company cars. So straight away I was onto HR and saying, I think I need a company car, and then they give you a grade. Okay, if you're this level, then you choose a company car of this value between here and there. So you see these sales reps driving around. The bigger the car represents how high they're going up in their kind of careers path. So yeah, we're constantly expressing that validation, seeking that validation. And I did a video about, not giving a fudge. And there comes a point, especially when you get older, and you realize all this kind of trying to impress people, bosses, clients, colleagues, even family members, usually at the expense of yourself, is really detrimental to your mental health. And in retirement, absolutely, you need to shed that kind of living for others' approval. I absolutely agree. It's liberating to wake up and not have to live by someone else's expectations. They need to be someone gives way to simple being. And that's the ideal. That's what we're striving for, you know, and I think that's what I'm striving for, just simply being. Yeah. Which leads neatly on to number 2. They finally have time to be present. Busyness often masquerades as purpose. In your 30s, 40s, 50s, life becomes a blur of deadlines, commutes, responsibilities, not just work responsibilities. It's like getting your kids through school, rushing around, you know, does your kid have extracurricular activities? And oh my gosh, I remember there was an old colleague at work and she was one of these people that was always fussing about, always busy, busy, busy. And it was like, she was chaotic. Her desk was chaotic. She'd come in with a handbag with stuff just pouring out of the handbag in one hand, and then underneath like files and stuff pouring in, and then she'd be on the phone saying, oh, Jasmine's got a violin class. I mean, can you pick Jasmine up? Yes, I think that Jasmine needs her violin. And it's just like, oh my Lord, slow down. All this busyness for what? Anyway, so yeah, life just becomes a blur when you're just trying to keep up with everyone and you've got kids and you're trying the career and all this kind of stuff. So you never really get a chance to suddenly stop. And as it says here, ask, what do I actually enjoy? And I think early retirement, or thinking about early retirement, or just leading up to retirement in general, is the perfect time to start planning your life after you leave. It's not about, gosh, this is what I'm leaving and I can't wait to leave. It's about, this is what I want to go to. What do you actually enjoy? In retirement, the pace changes. Absolutely. Time stretches. I've got a video coming up all about time stretching. The morning slowdown, moments that once felt rushed, like sipping coffee, all of that. Suddenly life does slow down. When I make my coffee in the morning, here, this is my afternoon coffee. Same thing. It's a ritual. It's not rushed, you know, like you see people running down the street. Oh, got to get my morning latte and, you know, drinking it out here and on the phone on the other hand. And it's just like, you're not enjoying it. You're not in the moment. What are you doing? Retirement just gives you that sense to sort of slow down. It's like a kind of film effect where you're kind of walking slowly and the rest of the world is like a blur. You know, those sort of film effects you get in movies. That's what it's like. The thing about happy retirees is they're not chasing the next thing, they're experiencing the now. Absolutely. They discover purpose on their own terms. Another big theme of this channel. As I said, and I've mentioned earlier there, it's all about trying to find your purpose, not someone else's purpose, not living to someone else's script, which is another video coming up. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Not living to what society thinks you should be living to, but finding what your purpose is. And, you know, there's a thing, and I wrote about it in very simplistic, it was kind of an early attempt at a book here called the Ikigai Blueprint. So in Japanese have this kind of thing called Ikigai, available at all good bookshops, Amazon anyway, by me. And it's my attempt to kind of explain the concept of Ikigai. And in simple terms, and it's very, very simple, this is really basic Ikigai, but this idea of finding your purpose is a Japanese thing. Embark on a transformative journey towards finding your Ikigai, the Japanese concept of purpose and fulfillment. It's basically unearthing the blend of where your talents, your passions, and your values and your potential. So imagine sort of a Venn diagram of these sort of 4 key things, where they meet. Yeah. So where your passions, your talents, your values, and your potential, where they meet in the middle in a Venn diagram type thing, is your Ikigai. And that's kind of your purpose in life. And in an ideal world, you find that, you know, and then that's your job. But life's not like that. Often you end up just falling into things, falling into careers. And as I say, I'll talk about this a lot in another video. But trying to find your purpose is key. And if you can find it before you retire, or at least head in that direction as you retire, because it might change, at least it gives you a sense of direction. The happiest retirees aren't the ones who simply stop working. As I said, it's not about just, thank God for that, I've escaped from work. They're the ones who want to start living intentionally. So it's having a purpose in life. Again, things I've touched on in videos here. Some volunteers, others mentor, start a small business, or nowadays a side hustle, you know. I was always going to make little YouTube videos because I've had a YouTube channel for a while. But the more I've been doing it and the more people have responded and related and the more the subscribers have grown, it's become much bigger than I ever intended it to. And I'm enjoying it. So I'm surfing that wave. I was just really just going to paddle out, like paddle boarding, just paddle out a little bit on my paddleboard into this kind of world of YouTube. But then I've caught a wave and I'm surfing it, baby. So there we go. What matters most is that they stay engaged, not with obligation, but with curiosity. Absolutely. And they recommend a book here, Your Retirement, Your Way, Journey with Jeanette Brown. Maybe we'll check that out. Nice little watch collection. I need a box like that. 4, embrace the simplicity over ambition. Oh my God. The career is done, the career ambition, the greasy pole of career and all that, chasing milestones, more, must have more, to enough. I've got enough. Yeah. I've bought everything I'm ever going to probably need to buy in terms of stuff. Anybody who's seen my room behind me, look, the camera behind me here, I've got like headphones, gaming headphones and stuff like that, and various pop figures that my kids had and stuff like that. Game controllers and whatnot, and all these things. I don't need any more stuff. I don't really want to get rid of them because I don't want to feel the land waste with this kind of stuff because it makes me feel a bit guilty about the environment. But equally, I don't want to contribute to that by buying even more stuff. So I've minimalized stuff. I'm still on my old Google Pixel 7, which is we're on Pixel 10 now. And normally I'd update at least every 2 years. But no, we're sticking with it because it's still a pretty good phone. I don't need more stuff. I'm perfecting, minimalism. Not on the same level as, say, my beautiful partner and fiance, Mariko. She strives much more towards a minimalist world. But I'm striving, I'm trying, Definitely, I don't crave accumulation anymore. I crave contentment. I get that. Less clutter. Yeah, absolutely. I've decluttered my house before I retired. And some people would say it's still cluttered, but it's a lot less cluttered than it was. There's power in simplicity. When you clear space, physically, mentally, emotionally, you make room for gratitude, 100%. Mature, meaningful connections, absolutely. Fewer, bigger, better. That's what they used to say at work. We're reducing the investment in such and such because what we're going to do is we're going to divert the money into fewer, bigger, better. That's always a business type of thing. But you can apply that to those that are near and dear to you, to your friends. Have fewer friends, but bigger, better friends, deeper relationships with the key people in your life, and build those meaningful connections with people who matter, and cut off the ones that are really just sapping your time, or they're there because, I don't know, obligation or whatever. Yeah. And as it says here, thrive on investing intentionally in people who uplift you. Absolutely. 100% agree with that. They learn that happiness doesn't come from having hundreds of acquaintances. It comes from nurturing a few genuine bonds. So yeah, time to get the old hack out the dead weed like a garden, declutter your house, declutter your friendships, all of that. Just concentrate on those that bring you joy. They accept life's impermanence and find peace in it. When you're younger, you either fight time or you block it out because it's miles away. It's never happening, hey, look, newsflash, we're all going to die. And, we don't know when. We hope we make the best of it. But if you rush to the end of the book, if you just fixate like a novel, if you just fixate on that last page to find out who done it, you're not enjoying the rest of the novel. I'm quite into Alan Watts' philosophy. And, he talks about being in the moment. Life is like a dance or listening to music. You don't wait until the end. You live it in the middle as it's happening. You experience it. And that's what life is. And I think once you accept that there is impermanence in life, you can just enjoy your life now. There's a book I'm reading by Miyamoto Musashi, and he was a 17th century samurai, and he had over 60 deadly sort of samurai fights, to the death. And he lived and he's world renowned. But as he got older, he died of old age, but he wrote a book called Dokudo, something like that. And in it, he talks about accepting death and being in the moment. If you just become fixated about the end of your life, you can't be in the moment. It will distract you. And so that's very much sort of feeds into that. And I'm going to be doing a whole video. I'm just telling you about all the videos I'm doing because I'm going to Japan next week. That's why this is not a walk and talk video, because I'm planning for Japan. But I'm going to Japan next week, and I'll be exploring Dokudo by Miyamoto Musashi and how it can apply to retirement in a bit more detail. They replace pressure with play. Even though my job wasn't pressurized, I mean, you know, I was coasting. I could do it in my sleep. There are always moments which require that extra bit of effort, or you know it needs to be done, or you want to do a good job. I mean, I may have been coasting. I still wanted to make sure that I did a competent job that was respected. It just makes your life easier in the workplace to do that. And even though, as I said, it wasn't a super pressurized job, I mean, I wasn't a nurse or anything like that. I wasn't a firefighter, wasn't a soldier. So it's all relative, but I still felt pressure now and then. And now I'm retired, I barely have any of that. You know, like I said, I'm planning for a trip, and the only anxiety, the only pressure I have is making sure is doing all the admin for the trip. You know, it's like work, isn't it? Sorting out admin for a trip, even though it's an exciting, you know, have you got the tickets in place? I've got the hotel booked and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, make sure I respond and make sure I get everything done before I go. I've not felt that pressure for ages. It's interesting. A little travel trip can do that. So, yeah. And when you're a kid, it's all about play, isn't it? That's what it was all about. And then life becomes serious. Yeah, you forget how to play, because life is a series of obligations, careers, mortgages, raising the kids. So in retirement, if you embrace it, there's a childlike joy about doing things just because. You know, I just do random things now and then. I mean, yeah, sure, I make these YouTube videos, but occasionally, you know, I'll just go, do you know what? I'm going to go to IKEA and have a walk around, you know, on a Tuesday when it's not busy. I live in a place where there's loads of antique shops and there's an antiques gallery. I'd never thought I'd go to antique shops. But interestingly enough, you don't realize, actually, you know, me being Gen X, there's a whole nostalgic kind of retro section in there. It's not just old, you know, 18th century chairs and china. No, there's a whole thing, and it's got records. It's got like records from the Sex Pistols and Generation X and Blondie, and old posters from, you know, 90 bands from the 1980s and stuff like that. And I was thinking, wow, that's not how I imagined antique stores. But yeah, just having fun, doing random stuff. And yeah, it's rediscovering that idleness of play, that fun, just the joy of play. Absolutely. They define happiness on their own terms. Yeah, this goes back to the kind of defining your life and your purpose on your own terms. Equally, was sort of defining what your reason for living, your raison d'etre, is in retirement, what you want to do in retirement, what you want to be in retirement, how you want your retirement to be, is equally wrapped up in all of that, is defining what happiness means to you. Not happiness defined by other people, not happiness sort of put onto you by what other people, oh yeah, no, happiness is having loads of money. Happiness is being on a beach all the time. Happiness is touring, you know, Thailand. Happiness is building a derelict house in France. That could be happiness for other people. It's about defining what happiness means to you and then striving for that. Forget what everybody else says. Forget what people tell you happiness should be. Find your own happiness, find your own purpose, and you go for it. So there you go. Conclusion: retirement, when lived with awareness, isn't the end of purpose. It's the beginning of authenticity. If my channel is about anything, it's about finding your authenticity, rediscovering who you are now, not necessarily who you were. There may be elements of who you were in there that's been struggling to get back out for the last 30, 40 years, but has been trapped in the golden cage that is you living the script that life wants you to live. Or there may be a new person in there, reborn again, like the phoenix from the fire. Find who you want to be authentic, and live that life. Easy to say, easy to do, but hopefully with these sort of guide points, these little guiders and thoughts and these sort of thought experiments and these videos that I do, hopefully I'm putting in the foundations for what I hope to be a happy retirement. But let me know, am I being naive? Am I idealistic? All of that. Put it in the comments down below. I'd be curious what you've got to say about it. And if you've liked this video, different from my walk and talks, I get it, but occasionally we've got to mix it up a bit. Hit the likes because I like it, YouTube likes it, and it helps people like you find content just like this. And if you are new to my channel, then definitely check out the other videos, hit that subscribe button, toggle that notification bell, and that way you'll know when I upload videos just like this. Talking of videos just like this, why don't you check out the videos here? These ones here. Oh, you'll love them. Thanks for watching.